I was looking over the rubric, and I know what you said earlier in terms of not having enough time and not
Mhm.
being able to demonstrate, and that's fine. I completely understand. But I can you give me some examples of how you use the platform to make appropriate accommodations for students?
The platform itself is not something that I make the accommodations on. It's more when I'm grading the assignments. Now our accommodations, we don't we're not we're not bound to follow IEPs in the same way as a public school, since this is technically, students pay tuition and it's technically private. Um, it's not a choice school necessarily. It's a private school, so we're not bound with IEPs. That being said, what I have done is tried to have breakout sessions for students within the platform, so students can work together. Um, I I can't give extended time on the platform. I the one-on-one is not within this platform. It is in the Target Teach sessions and in the Skype sessions. The extended time is built within uh, the due dates and whatnot on the assignments, and you can choose to not put zeros in or whatnot. You can exempt students from assignments officially on the gradebook platform. I've worked with students to uh, drop the lowest score in each specific each unit. That's another accommodation. But those accommodations are all on us. As far as how you demonstrate that, the best way that you'll be able to demonstrate is when you're grading
Okay.
and in conversations that we have. In those target teach sessions, you can continue to demonstrate that as you did with the breakout sessions. Now, what I'll have to do is watch the recording of the breakout session to kind of gauge that if I'm in the other room.
Hmm. Okay.
So what I did witness with you and Hannah and Phoebe was some just the tail end of some good conversation. I wish I would have seen more of that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Um, what about how do you establish a safe and positive learning environment in the virtual classroom? What are some
Well,
examples?
it's pretty easy in the virtual classroom as opposed to the physical classroom because the main thing to do is to monitor the feed, the chat board,
Okay.
and you can remove kids' privileges, you can mute them, you can kick them out of the room. What I've done in the past is just give kids warnings, and then mute them, and if something else happens, then I think there are only twice that I've had to remove kids from the room, and then they can come back in the room, of course, because I leave it unlocked. I could lock the room and kick them out and not let them come back in, but in the past they've come back in the room and been more respectful.
Got it.
Um, so really, I think to create that, you have to model the respect as you've done very well with the feedback that you give students and with the ways in which you listen to them and interact with them. And I think you did a very positive thing there with your listening
Okay.
and your modeling. Okay. So continue to build on that and then look at the chat. And I haven't had the opportunity to see how you would handle people being unkind to one another or not showing respect.
Got it.
So
Okay.
my idea is with all these rubrics, it's not none of them are fixed, right? It's not like it's a snapshot. My way of thinking is these are all goals that you strive towards, and once I have evidence to demonstrate that you are good at all the things on the rubric, if I've seen it once, that's enough.
Okay.
So that's my approach to evaluation.
That's fair.
So with the baseline, the scores are low, yes, but that's just because we haven't had much of a chance to observe a traditional sort of setting.
Okay.
Now, as far as what does that give you with to write reflections, we can have you can ask me in these conversations that we have, and I can hopefully give you some more material to work with, because the rubrics themselves are not, without this conversation, not as helpful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How do you create a student-centered environment? I mean, I guess it's not that difficult, but
You've been a good listener, and you've done that. You've had success with creating a student-centered environment. Now, as far as the ways in which we're bound, I think we're going to have to think about alternative assignments where they're more based on student choice. Because to me, just the platform, or the setup that we have, it's not student centered. It's teacher centered. It's sage on a stage. It's yes, there are opportunities for students to work at their own pace. They can work ahead. They can be independent, but it's still multiple choice. It's still read the textbook. It's not, all right, create an artifact that demonstrates your knowledge of how ancient Mesopotamians interacted with one another. It's write a paragraph about the 3 criteria of civilization according to the textbook. So what we will have to do is come up with some alternative assignments, and we do have the power to do that. There's just been some take on the Eurocentric approach to this curriculum of late, and we've been given the green light to have some alternative assessments to reflect other cultures and whatnot. And so I think some project-based learning would be good,
right.
and some more choice, student choice.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how to create a student-centered classroom.
Okay.
To empower the students with choice and give them tools and scaffold their learning rather than dictating it.
Sure. Okay. Um, then I guess my final question would be, how do you do norms and procedures?
Well, that is not something that we have to worry about too much in our setup. We just have to make sure that students are always respecting each other. I guess what I do is have a bit of a routine where I make small talk with the kids until class starts, and then I say, "All right, I'm going to hit record. Are you ready? Do you have anything to say before I record?" And just establish some little tiny routines there. Go over what the lesson is, go with the learning outcomes. And I haven't been great with that, honestly. But say, all right, so by the time we're done with this, I want you to know this, this, and that. And then go through the slides. And what I like to do is have lots of student interaction within the slides. I shoot for student input at least every 4th slide, where I'm asking students to contribute. We have to be mindful that some of the students are in K-12, they're in the program that they're in because they are shy and they don't want to interact. And so I never force it.
Okay.
Like you may have noticed, I said, all right, I need to hear from 5 of you when there are 11 kids in the room, or 10 kids, or however many it was, 9. I need to hear from 5 of you before we move on. That way, you have to have kids at least thinking about what they would say. And that's a bit of a routine. That's a way to get students invested. But if they know that they're expected to be invested, that's part of the procedure.
Right.
So, long answer to a short question.
Yeah.
But hopefully that gives you something to work with for what you need to do.
Yeah. That's fun. Appreciate you going over that with me.
Oh, sure thing.
Okay. So